understandable English podcast.
Learn English the easy way.
I spent 3 hours on a Tuesday night watching YouTube reviews about suction power, Jessica. 3 hours. I was sitting on my sofa in the dark, absolutely fascinated by a man comparing the airflow of different motorized brush heads. I have lost my youth. It is gone forever.
Well, rest in peace to your youth, Bryan, and welcome back to the Understandable English podcast, everyone. It sounds like someone has finally discovered the absolute thrill of basic household maintenance. What exactly did you buy?
I bought a vacuum cleaner, but not just any vacuum cleaner. I bought a high-end, cordless, multi-surface vacuum with a laser light that illuminates the dust on the floor before you suck it up. When the delivery box arrived at my door yesterday, my heart actually started beating faster. I opened the cardboard, I snapped the plastic pieces together, and I turned it on. And Jessica, the sound it made, it was beautiful.
You are describing this piece of plastic cleaning equipment like it is a luxury sports car.
It felt like one. I was vacuuming the rug in my living room, watching all the dog hair disappear in one single pass, and I genuinely started to freak out. I was so excited. I even called my mom to tell her about the HEPA filter system. But then, right in the middle of our phone call, the reality just hit me hard.
What reality? That you now have a clean floor?
No, the reality that I am officially old. I hung up the phone, I looked at the vacuum standing in the corner of my living room, and I almost cried. I suddenly remembered being 21 years old, going to concerts at midnight, sleeping on cheap futons, and surviving on frozen pizza. I didn't care about dust. I didn't even know what a HEPA filter was. And now, a good vacuum cleaner is the highlight of my week. Nobody warns you about adulthood. It just quietly replaces your fun personality with an obsession with clean floors.
I think you are being a little bit dramatic, Bryan. Being an adult doesn't mean your fun personality is dead. It just means your brain finally appreciates an environment that isn't completely disgusting. But honestly, if you're listening to us right now, please go down to the comments and let us know if you have experienced this exact feeling. What is the most boring adult thing you have ever gotten excited about? Leave a comment and tell us your favorite household appliance, because it helps you practice your writing and it will make Bryan feel much less alone in his vacuum sadness.
Yes, please back me up in the comments. Tell me about your washing machines and your air fryers. Because right now, I feel like I am mourning the death of my youth. Growing up just feels like a slow, terrifying process of getting excited about chores. I miss the feeling of not caring.
See, I completely disagree with you. I don't miss that chaotic energy of being young at all. I actually love this phase of adulthood. You think you are mourning your youth, but I think you are just discovering the quiet joy of utility. There is something deeply satisfying about owning things that actually work properly.
Joy of utility? That sounds like a textbook from a 1950s economics class. How can there be joy in a chore?
It isn't about the chore itself, it is about the feeling of control and quality. Let me give you an example. When I got my very first real adult paycheck from my first serious job, I didn't buy clothes or concert tickets. I went straight to a specialty kitchen store, and I spent an unreasonable amount of money on a professional set of chef's knives.
Knives? For your first big purchase? That is vaguely terrifying, Jessica. You got a paycheck and immediately armed yourself.
I like to cook, and before that, I had been living in cheap apartments with roommates, using these horrible, dull, cheap knives that couldn't even cut a lemon without destroying it. You had to practically saw your food in half. But the day I brought those professional knives home, it was a revelation. I took a tomato out of the fridge. I set it on the cutting board. I took the new heavy knife and I just barely pressed down. It sliced through the tomato like it was made of air. Clean, perfect slices. It was a completely magical experience.
Okay, I have to admit, a good clean slice of tomato is pretty satisfying. But a magical experience? Really?
Absolutely. Because in that moment, I realized what being a grown-up actually is. It isn't about paying taxes or wearing a suit to an office. It is the freedom to finally stop struggling with cheap, broken things. That knife was a total game changer for my daily life. It turned cooking from a frustrating battle into a peaceful routine. I genuinely believe that finding a high-quality kitchen sponge that doesn't fall apart after a week is a top 5 life moment.
A top 5 life moment. Jessica, a good sponge is great, but it cannot be competing with graduating from university or falling in love.
It absolutely competes. Falling in love is complicated and messy. A heavy-duty, dual-sided sponge never argues with you, and it always gets the grease off the frying pan. I stand by my statement. Adulthood is just realizing that functionality is beautiful.
I guess I understand that. There is a safety in knowing you have the right tools to fix a problem. But that brings me to the other thing that nobody warns you about. The sheer amount of responsibility that sneaks up on you. When you were a kid, you just take for granted that the lights will turn on when you flip the switch. You don't think about the invisible electricity running through the walls.
Oh, you definitely don't think about it until you open your first winter heating bill. That is the true initiation into adulthood.
Exactly. I remember the shock of opening my first utility bill when I moved out of my parents' house. I stared at the paper and thought, wait, I have to pay for the air I use to keep my body warm? I immediately ran around the apartment, turning off every single light bulb. I sat in the dark for 3 days just to prove a point to the electric company.
Which achieved absolutely nothing except making you bump your knees on the furniture. But I agree, the financial shocks of adulthood are very real. There are so many hidden adult taxes that you never think about until you are standing in the grocery store aisle looking at the price of cheese.
Oh my goodness, the cheese! Why is cheese so expensive? When I was younger, I thought cheese was just a basic human right. It was always just magically sitting in the refrigerator drawer. Now I look at a small block of cheddar and realize I have to choose between making a sandwich or putting gas in my car.
It is the same with laundry detergent. You buy a plastic jug of soapy water and it costs the same as a dinner at a restaurant. But this is exactly why I love my routines and my quiet life. The outside world is full of these stressful surprises. Expensive cheese, high electricity bills, sudden car repairs. That is why I need my home to be a predictable environment where the knives are sharp and the sponges are strong.
You know, when you frame it like that, my excitement over the vacuum cleaner makes a lot more sense. The world outside is chaotic, but inside my living room, I have a laser that finds the dust. I am the master of my own clean carpet.
Exactly. You aren't losing your youth, Bryan. You are just building your sanctuary. When you are a child, your parents build the sanctuary for you. You rely on them to fix the broken window or buy the expensive cheese. You completely take that safety for granted. But when you grow up, you have to become the person who fixes things. You become the safety. And that is a huge shift in how you view the world.
You become the safety. That is actually really profound and a little bit scary. Sometimes I still walk around my apartment, look at a broken pipe under the sink, and think, I need to call an adult to fix this. And then the terrible realization washes over me. I am the adult. I am the one who has to buy the wrench and watch the tutorial.
And that is why we get excited about vacuum cleaners. Because being the adult is exhausting, so anything that makes the job slightly easier feels like a massive victory.
Okay, I feel much better about my 3-hour YouTube research session now. I am not old and boring. I am just building my sanctuary. And speaking of victories, if you are an adult who has ever stood in a grocery store and been completely shocked by the price of laundry detergent, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Join our community of people who are just trying to navigate this expensive, crazy world while learning English.
That is a very smooth transition, Bryan. And this is a great time to transition into reviewing some of the language we naturally use during this conversation. Because talking about the shocks and surprises of growing up gives us some excellent emotional vocabulary.
It really does. I think I used a pretty dramatic phrase right at the beginning when I was describing my reaction to the vacuum cleaner's performance. I said I genuinely started to freak out.
Yes, to freak out. This is a very common, very casual phrasal verb. To freak out means to have a sudden, extreme emotional reaction. It can be a negative reaction, like panic or anger, or a positive reaction, like extreme excitement. If you see a huge spider in your bed, you freak out. If you win the lottery, you also freak out. It just means you lose control of your emotions for a moment.
My reaction was definitely the happy kind of freak out. But immediately after that, when I realized I was getting excited about a cleaning appliance, my mood dropped. I said the reality just hit me hard.
To hit you hard. We use this phrase when a realization, an event, or a piece of news suddenly affects you in a very strong, often negative, emotional way. It feels like a physical punch. You didn't expect it, and suddenly it makes you feel sad, shocked, or overwhelmed.
It was a very heavy realization. But you tried to make me feel better by telling me your knife story. You said that buying that good chef's knife was a total game changer for your daily life.
A game changer. This is a fantastic noun phrase. A game changer is a new idea, event, or object that completely changes the way a situation develops, usually making things much better or easier. It completely changes the rules of the game. For example, getting a car is a game changer for someone who used to walk 2 hours to work every day.
Or buying a vacuum with a dust laser. A complete game changer. But we also talked about the negative surprises of growing up. I mentioned that the sheer amount of responsibility just sneaks up on you.
To sneak up on you. If a person sneaks up on you, they walk behind you very quietly so you don't hear them, and then they surprise you. When we say a situation or a feeling sneaks up on you, it means it happens so gradually and slowly that you don't even notice it until it is suddenly right in front of you, causing a problem.
Responsibilities definitely do that. One day you are playing video games, and the next day you are paying property taxes. And we don't realize this when we are young because, as I said earlier, kids just take for granted that the lights will turn on.
To take something for granted. This is a very important phrase. It means you are so accustomed to having something, like electricity, good health, or a helpful friend, that you stop appreciating it. You assume it will always be there, so you don't even think about how valuable it actually is until it goes away.
Like the magical drawer of cheese in my parents' kitchen. I definitely took that for granted. I should call my mother and thank her for the years of free cheddar.
I think your mother would really appreciate that call, Bryan. Just try not to talk to her about vacuum filters for another hour. Thank you so much for joining us on the Understandable English podcast today, everyone. We hope this conversation brought you a little bit of comfort about growing older.
Yes, adulthood is a wild ride, but at least we can buy our own game-changing sponges now. Don't let the utility bills hit you too hard this week.
Have a wonderful, stress-free week, everyone, and take time to appreciate the small things that work. Goodbye.
Bye, guys. See you in the next episode. I was trying not to take my youth for granted, but adulthood really sneaks up on you. And when the price of cheese hit me hard, I completely started to freak out until my new vacuum cleaner became an absolute game changer.
You just managed to sound like an action movie trailer about doing household chores, Bryan.